Hey there everyone, Mazarok here, and this week in our Eberron Deep Dive lore series, we're going to be looking into the Gnomish nation of Zilargo. Let's go. Alright, when you first enter a city in the nation of Zilargo, you're going to think that it is paradise. Everything is overly clean. Everything is pristine and wonderful. But that's because Zilargo holds not a sinister secret, but they actually have a big one. And what that is they have a CIA-like agency known as the Trust that preemptively takes care of any crime or any real problems to the nation of Zilargo. Now, they don't do this through violence. That is, they do it through a warning system of messages and intrigue-like spies. Now, they do have a number of assassins, but they try and use those last. And the gnomes of Zilargo are rather happy to kind of keep this system in check. But the funny part is, nobody knows if the trust is real or not. As a general rule, the trust does not exist. Within or without the nation of Zilargo, it does not exist. Now, the nation of Zilargo is not a tyranny. Sorry, for this reason, they are a democracy with elected rulership, and the trust does respond to them. It is, their agency. So this is something to kind of think about and work with when you're going to Zilargo. The gnomes do love their intrigue. They are all about the cunning. And if a theft can occur of a diamond, as long as it's not done through violent means and it stays in Zilargoian hands, it's alright. As long as nobody gets hurt. The trust is kind of okay with that. But no violence. That's a big thing. That's a big thing with them. And during the last war, they really stood on that stance. No violence. They did side with Breland and offered them a lot of aid within ships, elemental weapons, and things like that. And they were a staunch supporter of Breland, but committed very, very little troops. And mostly just when I asked about the war, it's, that unpleasantness in the north. That's really kind of how they thought about the whole thing. So they do have a large library. They're well known for their education, their alchemy, their shipbuilding, and things like that. And the gnomes love good entertainment and precious stones. It's kind of a little additive. Like how the way I view the gnomes is take Forgotten Realm gnomes, not rock gnomes, but like kind of forest gnomes, and have them evolve in a city-like setting over a long period of time and keep the fantasy aspect of it. That's kind of how I would view the gnomes of Zilargo. The trust is a lot of fun that you can use. This I have used. Little spoiler for those in my Eberron game, which won't change anything at this point. I have used the trust to steer them in the right direction. Unknown organizations feeding them dead drop messages and things like that they just so happen to find and point them in the right direction. Very, very useful. And in fact, I kind of left little clues. But I don't think any of them picked up on it yet. So if any of them go through their notes, let me know. I think it'd be a lot of fun because I did leave some clues that it was the trust. So they do have this framework in place, and it is assumed that around a third of the gnomish population actually does work for the trust in some sort of way through dead drops, monetary things like that. And it is the trust that keeps everybody safe. And it has worked for a long time, and the gnomes of Zilargo are happy to keep this in place. Nobody knows if the trust exists or not, but everybody knows. And they're happy with this system. Their streets are clean. There's very little crime, or at least violent crime. There is almost none. It is non-existent. Any thefts that occur happen through the web of intrigue and cunning that they have built themselves, and they live for it. So they're completely okay with it. It's one of those things where, like, it's that thrill and excitement that drives them of not getting caught by the trust and getting away with it. So you see kind of how this image starts to build up around them, and how you can kind of place that in your campaign. because you can take the trust and have them work as agents outside of Zilargo as well. But within Zilargo, the trust would always be watching the adventurers. There's always someone. So you have a network of spies that are either helping or really throwing a lot of wrenches in the adventurers' gears, because the trust doesn't want what the players are offering or what they're doing or where they're going. So you can have just a list of bad things happen, and just it's continuously the trust. Maybe a large pane of glass falls down and almost crushes the adventurers, or things like that. You can have a lot of fun mishaps as kind of traps in there. There's a lot of things to work with and have a lot of fun. As well, if you have characters that, like a wizard, or characters that really like reading, look for libraries whenever they go anywhere, they have the largest library in Corvair. And one of the finest repositories for intellect. And the gnomes of Zilargo are also the dragon-marked House Civis, which is the House of Communications. So naturally, they have taken their knack for communications and have started the Korenberg Chronicle, one of the finest kind of newspapers in Corvair, spread rather far and wide, and it is a good way for you to kind of add a little bit to your game. Maybe you want your players to kind of read something. Make a little handout in the form of a newspaper. Just kind of print it out, take a template that you can find online, there are plenty. Type up what you need, a few weird stories, and you can hand it out to your players as newspapers, as kind of they get into big cities or things like that, and just it'd be the Korenberg Chronicle. There's definitely a good way for you to give your players the information that you need to give them without being like, hey, yo, go here. So the Zilargoians are fairly well versed in religion. Most cities have quite a few temples and shrines that are very, very well kept, and most Zilargoians will actually kind of bounce back and forth from religion to religion until they find the right fit for them. So they're really, really open in that regard, which is a little bit different than most of Corvair. Most of Corvair is kind of very single-minded, whichever nation you are, like, this is the one we are. But they're a little bit more open. Another fun thing you can do is, like, have these weird family ties. So kind of every family operates in a mafia-like style kind of web of intrigue. So you can take that kind of big organization and tie it into individual families in Zilargo. You can have a lot of funds there. Who stole this or that? A lot of intrigue, campaign hooks. Who stole this? Who stole that? Who's to blame for this? Without any killing. So if you guys have a really heavy roleplay campaign, or it's just been, you've gone through 4 months of a dungeon slog, it happens. And you kind of want just something fun where your players have to use other skills other than I cast Fireball and I stab with sword. Zilargo would be a really, really good place for that, where you could set up a really fun adventure hook that doesn't have as much killing. Of course, if your players get bored, you can always throw a monster or something in there for them. So, some of the bigger cities in Zilargo. Korenberg is one of the oldest cities and is one of the more ancient cities in Corvair. It is built on the Seawall Mountains. Now, many aristocrats and nobility live there, so this is kind of your very flourished city, because the gnomes like their artistic style, so everything needs to look pretty, everything has murals and things like that, and you will find the most in Korenberg. Thurenbar is the port city, so it's got a lot of clubs and schools, and it's really big about like music and arcane sound. You'll find illusion schools there as well, because obviously with illusions you can make sounds, not just visuals, but you can add all of that. So bards would be very keen to go there as well. A lot of entertainers flock there. Trollenport is a crisscross of like canals and flooded streets. Shipbuilding is a big part of Trollenport. Trollenport, sorry, is a big nexus of trade for Zilargo as well. Kind of, so if you're looking for fun bazaars or things like that, gnomish bazaars, I would have just these weird merchants where things get stolen from them all the time, but it's kind of all each other in a weird circle. There's a lot of fun that you could that you could definitely have there. Now up next, gnomes love their precious gems. That hasn't really changed. So there is Zollenberg, which is a network of mines, which House Kundracht has allied themselves with House Civis for this, and actually have one of their great vaults set up near here, because their mines are constantly being attacked by goblins of Dargoon, who are just raiding because Who doesn't want mind possession? And also like kobolds and things like that, which is pretty weird, I gotta say. Yep. Kobolds living in the mountains would attack the mines and things like that. So took me for a little loop there, because you don't hear of kobolds much in Eberron. But yeah, so Zilargo, it's not your place where you might, even at that, it would be a fun place to bring violence, now that I'm thinking about it, to a nation that does not have it. Perhaps a Delkir attack, and you need to figure out a way to work with the Trust, because they're going to do it as non-violent as possible, and most of the civilians there are not high-end adventurers, warriors, or things like that. So working with the Trust to get them to use their abilities to subvert some sort of invasion, while the adventurers kind of head-on take the violence. There's a lot of opportunities there for adventure hooks and storylines and things that you can work with and have a lot of fun. But aside from that, yeah, that's Zilargo for you. I stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. As well, we play Rime of the Frostbane on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Come on by, check that out. It's been a lot of fun. If you're looking for like DM printables, resources for your table, check out the Patreon down below. I am trying to put some stuff on there. Now, unfortunately, we are weaning my child off naps, and a lot of my spare work time has gone. So I am trying really, really hard to kind of figure out when I can upload stuff and work on stuff and things like that. And of course, with the expansion of Shadowlands for World of Warcraft coming out, my time also has said goodbye. So busy, but that's how it goes. If there's anything you would like to see, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you'd like. Tell me what you'd like to see more of. Or, you know, if there's something that you need for your table. Is there something you need for your table that you find nobody else is doing? Let me know. I might be able to do that. And, you know, sometimes it's just that little spark of an idea that gets things going. So aside from that, I hope your next session's a fantastic one, and we'll see you next week on our next Eberron Deep Dive Lore series video.